So this is part two, and last week we spent most of our time in what I call the law of the first. And so we were in Exodus 16, which is the first time that the glory of the Lord is referred to in that context. And that brought us over to John 6, because Jesus refers to it as the manna in the wilderness and all that. So our takeaway, so to speak, from last week might be this, that the first time the glory of the Lord is demonstrated is in the wilderness, not in the promised land, but in the wilderness. And God reveals, we said that basically when God talks about his glory, he refers to Moses that it's all of his goodness. So God's desire to reveal his goodness, his honor, the honor he has for us as his children, he shows us in the wilderness by revealing his glory, how awesome he is. And he's encouraging, it appears that he's encouraging a relationship that would pretty much be based on obedience. We'll read something today. But you know how Paul says, children, obey your parents. It seems like basically he's leading his children out. He reveals his glory of them when they're hungry, his glory to them when they're hungry, the manna. And he's calling them to obey him. That's the way it appears, to trust him. And we concluded last week, not just for our own kind of lives and provision, because Jesus in John 6, when he says to Philip, where shall we go that these may eat? He's referring to the 5,000 people around him. It's not just where can we go so we can eat, make sure we got enough food on the table. Jesus says the object is not just to yourself be satisfied, but to be able to feed the masses, kind of thing. And we concluded that we cast our bread upon the waters, we cast our cares upon him. So it's kind of like in the casting business. And at the very heart, which I'm going to carry over today, the very heart of the glory of God, I think it's very interesting, after a very, very short period of time, that they were struggling. And there was a lot of moaning and complaining going on. And in Isaiah 55, it talks about coming to him so that our souls are refreshed. The first instance of the glory of the Lord being revealed is to refresh the souls of people that we would say, crying out loud, would you quit moaning? But God doesn't say that. He's a good dad that says, come close to me and let me refresh your soul with, yes, what you need, but even more than that. And the manna, we know, is manna means what is it? And I like that in this context. I don't know how God does what he does. After all these years, nearly 40 years of walking with him, I don't know. I don't know how somebody sits down, prays for something, whatever, and then has a tremendous sense of peace and well-being. How does that happen? I mean, this refreshing of the soul. It's an amazing thing. And that's, if we could get a hold of that aspect of God, the very first thing that I'm concerned about is the welfare of your soul. And it's like, well, how does that's not it. That's not what it's about. I want to just refresh you. I don't want you struggling these next few days. I want you to have a joy and a peace about everything. Trust me through this. For whatever. Just trust me. If there's something for you to do, I'll tell you to do it. Because I'm a good dad. You're a good daughter. I'll tell you what to do, and then you do it. It kind of, that relationship, yes, we have it described in the Bible, but we don't live the Bible. We live in relationship to God who speaks to us that way. And even when I'm about to go off the deep end, it's like, son, just relax. Just relax. I don't want you to lose my peace. I don't want you to be struggling like this. His primary thing, and I'm not trying to mess with anything other than, I don't think we think of it that way. I think we always think more on the salvation side, which is fair enough, but we really need to see that his concern about the condition of our souls, when David says, he leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name, he restores my soul. Right in the middle of this phenomenal psalm, he restores my soul, because I have a way of getting unrestored. And he's very concerned about my state. We're going to move into Exodus 24, which is the second reference, the second appearance, if you would, of the glory of God. Basically, to put it in context, they cross the Red Sea. 3 days later, they end up in a place called Marah. where the waters are bitter, and there's a story associated with that. And then they go to Elim, where it's the exact opposite. There's like these 12 wells and these 70 palm trees. It's glorious. So it's like from the depths of despair to this wonderful paradise. And then 45 days later, which is not that long when you think about it, 45 days later is when they have the bread from heaven that we talked about last week, Exodus 16. And then from there, they move on to a place called Meribah. Now, I don't know if so far, Meribah is a place where there's no water at all, and God has Moses strike a rock to bring water from the rock. And it says literally in that chapter that they tested God. And the question was, is the Lord among us or not? That was the testing of God. Is he with us or not? Now, you may have noticed, the crossing of the Red Sea was just an amazing kind of thing. On the one side of the Red Sea, they all think they're going to die. It's all over because of the Red Sea in front of them. They get through the Red Sea. Yay! They rejoice. They come to these bitter waters. Oh, this really sucks. God clears up the waters. Yay! This is great. They end up in a place with 70 wells and or 12 wells and 70 pounds. Yay! This is wonderful. Then they get to Meribah. Oh, there's no water here at all. And so Moses strikes her out. Yay! And there's water. It's kind of like zzz. And this is the kind of walk that they're on. Now, in case you haven't noticed it, it's kind of similar to our lives, really, if you think about it. We've got our days where it's like, yay, I'm going to Budapest and Sardinia. They screwed up my airfare. It's kind of like we live in that almost roller. I'm not saying it's a wilderness, but it sort of is, because there is a place God has for us that doesn't get knocked around, like Paul says, by all these things. We just kind of, we just kind of make our way through it. Because the glory of God has been revealed to us that, look, I will refresh your soul, but you got to trust me. Lord, I give you my heart. I give you my soul. I live for you. It's kind of like we sing these things and talk about these things. And the glory of the Lord, the refreshing of the soul, and there's something else that we're going to look at, because they get to Sinai in the 3rd month, which again is not that far into the journey. 3 months later, they get to Mount Sinai, to the mountain. Yeah, Exodus 19, they get to Mount Sinai. Would you read verses 3 through 8?
And Moses went up to God, and the Lord called to him out of the mountain, saying, Thus shall you say to the house of Jacob, and tell the children of Israel, You have seen what I did unto the Egyptians, and how I bare you up on eagle's wings, and brought you to myself. Now therefore, if you obey my voice indeed, and keep my covenant, then you will be a peculiar treasure to me above all people, for all the earth is mine. And you will be unto me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. These are the words which you will speak to the children of Israel. And Moses came and called for the elders of the people, and laid before their faces all these words which the Lord commanded him.
So we've got this situation. They get to Mount Sinai. So we live on the other side of it, so we know what's going to happen. They don't. They get to Mount Sinai. They get to the mountain. God meets with Moses and expresses this beautiful, intimate relationship that he's seriously enjoying with them. I've carried you on eagle's wings. I've brought you here unto myself. All this kind of stuff. And they've seen the glory of the Lord in 16, where the Lord meets them in such a way he refreshes their souls, just like he says. He's appeared in a cloud. And you really have this intimate setting at that point. That's important to keep in mind. He refreshed their souls. He carries them along. And he's describing this very intimate moment that they're enjoying. If somebody wants to continue verses 8 through 12, same chapter.
And all the people answered together and said, All that the Lord had spoken we will do. And Moses returned the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, Lo, I come unto thee in a thick cloud, that the people may hear when I speak with thee, and believe thee forever. And Moses told the words of the people unto the Lord. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go unto the people, and sanctify them today and tomorrow, and let them wash their clothes, and be ready against the 3rd day. For the 3rd day the Lord will come down in the sight of all the people upon Mount Sinai. And thou shalt set bounds unto the people round about, saying, Take heed to yourselves, that ye go not up into the mount, or touch the border of it. Whosoever toucheth the mount shall be surely put to death.
The point is that the cloud has been with them, but all of a sudden he says, I'm going to come in a thick cloud. He describes something different. I don't think the church has been very good at moving on with God in a particular respect. They like the cloud the way it's always been. Let's keep it that way. God says, I'm bringing a thick cloud. I'm doing something different now. Okay? This is a different time, a different place. And he tells Moses that. This is going to be a different kind of experience. It's a thick cloud. So, God makes sure that they know, and he warns them about the mountain itself, that they're not able to touch it. Thick cloud, don't touch the mountain. If you touch the mountain, remember we just talked about obeying his voice. All you have to do, and they've just said, whatever you say, we will do. Well, he didn't say that much. He said, just obey my voice and keep the covenant. That's basically what he has said. Not a lot of things. The to-do list is not even 10 commandments. It's just a couple of things. Point being that they're in this situation now. God's given them an adequate kind of warning. Things are changing. Thick cloud. We're at the mountain. Don't touch it. On the third day, that should start to ring bells. Anytime you see on the third day, immediately it should spring something. And it was on the third day, remember, when Mary meets Jesus at the tomb. She doesn't know it's him. And she reaches out to grab him. And he says to her, you can't touch me because I haven't ascended yet. Something has descended. I came down. The glory of God, I've come down. But I must ascend. So you can't touch me. No touching me. And Jesus is drawing as clear a picture to the first time the word was given at Mount Sinai, and now he's been given himself. And on the third day, they were warned about this thing. But as we continue on in Exodus 19, because this is all setting us up for 24, verses 21 through 24.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Go down, charge the people, lest they break through unto the Lord to gaze, and many of them perish. And let the priests also, which come near to the Lord, sanctify themselves, lest the Lord break forth upon them. And Moses said unto the Lord, The people cannot come up to Mount Sinai, for thou chargest us, saying, Set bounds about the mount, and sanctify it. And the Lord said unto them, Away, get thee down, and thou shalt come up, thou, and Aaron with thee. But let not the priests and the people break through to come up unto the Lord, lest he break forth upon them.
God is concerned about the people touching the mountain. He told them not to touch the mountain, but he's concerned about them touching the mountain. Moses, you got to love this guy, kind of like his naivety a bit, because it's hard in the King James to really catch what he's saying, but he's reminding God, well, listen, you warned us about touching the mountain already, and they said they would obey you.